In my world, races often go just like this. You start out wherever you bother to qualify a little cautiously, trying not to lose positions off the line and wondering exactly where you need to brake for that first turn. Then all of a sudden, a little moment of chaos breaks out as a million cars try to go into one. But usually it's not too bad. You might get a little bump here and there, but not much of it's intentional and most drivers give you some space. But sure, there's that occasional guy who thinks all corners belong to him, but soon the race settles down and it becomes a chase. Little by little you reel in the car in front, savouring his every tasty mistake. Eventually, you're in striking range. All that is left to do now is send it. You keep it tight, he goes wide and you wince just a little inside under braking for the next turn, hoping he still isn't on the inside. Then when the job is done, it's time to repeat the process with those two ahead. This isn't some cherry-picked fluke, this is an average race, which leaves me baffled every time I encounter this. Go to any GT community and it's not difficult to find post after post complaining about how bad the sport mode is. If it's not some kid ramming you off the track, then it's the game giving you penalties for absolutely no reason. It seems like sport mode is just unplayable garbage. So it makes me wonder why so much of my own experience can be so enjoyable while others get battered around like pinballs and penalised on top. But then it dawned on me. It's been nearly half a decade since I've been a beginner at sport mode. Sure, GT7 isn't that old, but if you had played GT Sport in the past, then you will start out in GT7 with the same driver and safety ratings carried over. This means that I've only experienced racing with top-rated drivers in GT7. I haven't actually experienced what it's like to start online racing in GT7 as a complete noob. And well, there's only one way to fix that. Since you can't simply start GT7 and select a new game, the only way to start over as a complete novice is to create a brand new PSN account. So that's just what I did. But of course, it's not that simple. You can't just create an account and hit the track. Sarah and Luca won't stand for that type of nonsense. You need to speedrun GT7's career mode till Sport unlocks, and the best way to do this is to polish off a circuit experience as soon as you can. I chose Suzuka, which can be done in less than 10 minutes and adds 1.2 million credits to your account. And by the way, there's going to be an accompanying video of the completely unedited Suzuka circuit experience linked below for those wondering. Then those cafe missions can be knocked off in seconds if you ignore Luca and just buy the cars you need to complete the cafe menu instead of entering the races. Then we just need to slam through the B license, which is pretty easy, and before you know it, hey, look at that, sport mode is ready and waiting. Finally, we can dig into our first race as a noob, and Daily Race A looks perfect for it. I've never driven that layout of the track before, and I certainly have never driven that car in GT7 before. I'll be starting out as useless as everybody else, and that's great if I want to test out the complete novice experience. But I joined the race session at the worst possible time, giving me 13 minutes of qualifying time before I can start the race. Using that time to practice turned out to be a bit of a mistake, and you'll see why. When the lobby forms and the grid is set, I'm on pole by 0.8 of a second. After a clean getaway off the line, there are a few taps and wobbles in the pack behind, but it's just a boring pole to flag win. Of course, your race will be great if you don't see any other drivers. But I'm stuck with that qualifying time now. I can't go back and erase it, so in order to see what the true experience is like fighting through a pack, let's graduate on to Daily Race B. This one is a Deep Forest Reverse, another track I'm not really familiar with, and like any noob, the first thing I'm going to do before I select a car is to see the top 10 times to check what the meta car is. And WRX it is. Bought and painted, it's time to race this thing, but this time there'll be no qualifying. It's straight to the grid. This race is a rolling start, so it's all a little boring at first. By the end of the straight we have a run on a Lambo, but I have no clue what this corner is all about and totally mess it up. But so far so clean. The WRX just eats the Lamborghini alive in a straight line, which is great because I have no clue where to brake for this next turn, and the gap I had was really needed as the Lambo closes under brakes. And that Supra, it just introduces itself to the wall. Into the top 10 now with the Silvia just ahead, and this is where I really need to be patient. The Silvia is painfully slow, completely blocking the track, but with the speed advantage I have, it's only a matter of time before there is an opportunity to pass, and that chance comes out of the final turn where he's just left for dead on the exit. Still only on lap 2, and here he is positioned 6, 7 and 8, 3 wide. This has got disaster written all over it. The Aussie has gotten himself a nice 3-second penalty somehow, but not to be outdone, the Japanese driver responds with his own 5-second penalty. I've just taken one of them through the tunnel and all of their fighting allows me to breeze past the other two as well. The Aussie comes back and has a nice lunge at me, not sure if intentional or not, but it gives me a nice boost out of the turn and sets me up to chase down 5th. Skipping forward to lap 3 and I've set the fastest lap of the race while cruising up to the back of Axel in his Supra. Sending it up the inside, it looks good at first till I run wide and wait forever to get back on the power. It's a complete fail of an overtake and Axel jumps straight back in front. Now it becomes a replay of a few laps back where I just need to be patient. He's blocking every apex and has every right to do so. I just need to wait for the final corner where I can tuck it in tight and get on the power early. That's job done. Now it's all about all-out attack trying to close down that 7-second gap to 4th, but I still have zero clue how to take this turn, but luckily for me though, Axel has no clue either. In the end it's 5th place, which isn't that bad and the racing was surprisingly clean. A few people got punted here and there, but I didn't see a lot of deliberate ramming or any unjust penalties. In fact, it was so much fun, I'm gonna do it again. And what do you know, it's another Lambo to start behind. This one is easily dispensed. At the first corner I expected a wall with 12 cars in front of me, but there was only one driver who I could pick off on the exit. Where was the carnage? By the end of the back straight I have closed up enough on VZ Malou to have a lunge into the right-hander. We both run a little bit wide, but by the exit the job is done, as the Lambo loses 2 places in one corner before getting punchy with the Supra. And then the wall. Into the top 10 then, and I have a nice bunch of cars up ahead to prey upon. I tried the over and under technique there to get a great exit speed, but Thomas just parks it on the apex and I have to back out of it, spoiling my run down the straight. It turns into a tight battle as he tries to squeeze me into the wall, but with him being on the outside, it's never gonna end well for him. Now it's this braking zone again, and I'm glad it's not just me struggling here. Cars are everywhere and even Thomas comes back for a little nibble after bouncing it off the wall. That was 2 cars in one turn, but easy come, easy go. Joker decides braking for turns isn't quite his style and bounces off me for the next one. This allows him and LPR to shuffle on by. For a brief moment. Bye bye, Joker. That still leaves LPR though, and that is one angry looking pack up ahead. Luckily, LPR is there to kindly sweep cars off the road ahead of me. But not only that, he gives me a nice boost of speed out of the final corner to get me past Jonesy. What a great guy. All of a sudden after that mess, I'm in 4th, closing down 3rd, and the pass is a little clumsy, but it works. We are on for a podium now. Skipping to lap 4 of 5, we can see 2 cars ahead. Jack gets the corner all sorts of wrong and has no answer on exit to the speed of the WRX, and all that is left now is to close down that 4.5 seconds to the leader. But with 1.5 laps to go, it's going to take some doing. It's the closing stages, and with the gap down to just over a second, TCW is starting to crack under the pressure. He goes really wide here, obliterating any gap he had, then runs wide again on the next turn. He puts on an aggressive block to stop me passing, but if I get the last turn just right, I've got him. He parks it right on the apex, knowing I'll be looking for a fast exit, but I get a pretty good exit anyway, so he swerves everywhere to block me from taking the win. What a sole loser. But otherwise that was a pretty good race. So far, even though I'm racing in the lowest ranks, it's all surprisingly civilized. I've got nothing to farm Reddit upvotes with just yet. Let's see if Daily Race C can flip the script. You know the drill by now, no practice, no qualifying, straight in. This time it's with the GTR. And it's another sedate start, just following this Audi that all of a sudden decides the wall is a great place to visit. This brings me up to 11th, nope, make that 10th as another Lambo loses the will to a race and I get this great run on a glowing Ford. For a brief moment I'm thinking about going around the outside, but it turns out I don't need to. That's 8th place, and there are more yellow flags up ahead because another Ford is finding the top of the mountain a bit too tricky. He briefly holds me up while we go side by side and I get a little tap while getting the move done. Then right on cue another driver kindly makes way for me as I move up to 6th. Nope, make that 5th. This is turning into a pretty good opening lap just by staying on the track. Melonways is hogging all the track right here. No way through till the exit, where he really could have moved over and blocked me, but he didn't, and we have this little drag race down to the final corner where yet another driver jumps out of our way. That's 12 to 3rd in one lap, but there are still 9 to go. It's looking good if we have the pace to catch first, even if he is 14 seconds up the road. Jumping ahead to the start of lap 3, and we've caught the Hyundai, and look at that, another kind soul gives up their position just to benefit the video. I didn't know there were so many generous racers out there, but Matt in first, he surely isn't one of them. He isn't letting me catch him at all. At this stage, it's looking like I'm in store for 7 laps of boredom. It stays this way until lap 5, when I've gotten used to the car enough to be able to set the fastest lap. But there is only 5 laps left, and Matty still has a 13-second lead. He only needs to cruise to the finish now. All I can do is apply some pressure. Then only half a lap later, with another second lopped off his lead, it's Christmas. Yellow flags are out, and that can only be for Matty. But where is he? Ah, there he is. Now we have a race, and what's more, he has a penalty. What at one stage was up to a 15-second lead for Matty is now a growing gap. All that is left to do now is bring it home. Eventually I cross the line with a 5-second lead, and it's a last to first victory. So that's a top position in every race, while not experiencing much at all in the way of dirty drivers or unfair penalties. Maybe it's safe to say that what you see posted by the community is not the typical experience you can expect? Or maybe I was just lucky on that day. Well, to test that, I went back 2 days later, starting again from last in Daily Race B, having had no practice since the first day, trying to keep the skill level the same. This time there is a usual bit of clumsy but not really deliberate contact at turn 1, and it's all penalised as it should be. Having blasted past the NSX on the straight, I take what I think is a normal entry into the corner but almost wipe out the WRX, but I managed to keep it clean. Though, seeing what comes next, I kinda feel that maybe I should have punted him. Frozen Noodles just gets murdered here, and we take advantage of the chaos to make a few more places before the WRX takes a little nibble of my rear that gets him nowhere. Onto the final corner, and I get a good run on Pyro, but he gets a bit feisty. I was sure it was on right here, but he calms down and lets me past, which was the right decision for both of our races. But that is until that braking zone, where Pyro gets it all wrong and comes slamming into the back of me. But I didn't lose too much time, and the game was quick to slap his wrist over it. Then it's deja vu again. It's the final corner and another red Alpha. This time it's Fat Faye knowing how to take that corner, and I can only tuck into his slip. But the pass is done before the end of the straight anyway, and next up is another yellow WRX, which again very kindly just waves us by. Such nice races we have around here. This was all the excitement that there was though. The gap to Boonk out in front was cut to just 1.5 seconds by the end, but a win is a win. Which just leaves us to test Daily Race C again. By the time I hit the first corner, I was up 1 position to 11th, but then I got stuck behind a roadblock and kind of got mugged. Jez sneaks up the inside while my attention is devoted to not gaining a new McLaren hood ornament, and I think this is the first time I've lost a position on my noob account on merit. Then all hell just breaks loose, with Yoshi turning in on me and eating some wall, Tom tapping Jez, me tapping Tom, then Yoshi again, while Drifter just lives up to his name. In the end, it's all profit though. I'm up to 9th position and chasing down Jizzerman, who seems to love nothing more than to flash his lights while he's on the way to the scene of his own accident. Thanks for the position there, Jizzerman. Next up is Kaz. Probably not the Kaz, though it would be cool if it were. But I'm glad it's not, because I inexplicably just turned right into the wall straight in front of him. It's all good though, we get away with it while Harrison has had enough of life and just parks up next to the wall. That's 6th position now. Nope, make it 5th. And now I have another final corner duel with a rotary. Unlike last time when I went around the outside, here Sika covers it. I am forced into a late lunge to take the position, but Sika is up for it, and check this out. The game ghosts him for the split second it takes to avoid our contact, which is really cool. But I really thought he would never make that corner. Somehow he does, but it's cost him speed. The job is finally done on turn 1. Someone rage quits going up the mountain, then we see Yosu where he really shouldn't be, and all of a sudden it's second and only on lap 2. But Chihiro is 12 seconds up the road and I only have 8 laps to catch. With no threat behind and nothing realistic to chase in front, my mind can start to wander. And with my mind wandering, so does the car. This has to rank up there with one of the most clumsy crashes I've ever had. But what is worse is that I can't even get the car back on track. What was a 12-second gap to first in second is now a 34-second gap in 10th. Time to switch on again. I managed to catch back up to Sika in the rotary, but I can't do much across the top of the mountain. Sika is in turn catching Juzelman, who gets all Max Verstappen on him before driving through Yosu like he isn't even there. Then I don't even know what happened to Sika, as Juzelman cops what is a quite lenient 5-second penalty for all the serial killing he was up to. Juzza disposed of, then we pass Harrison parked up again and set about chasing down Tom. He has a terrible final corner which allows us to get up the inside of the first corner and take away the position. Next corner it's Jazz this time, taking a breather on the side. It's lap 6 now, and after chasing down Jez pretty hard, he finally cracks on top of the mountain, running wide, allowing me to close right up through the dipper and then finally take the position when he runs wide yet again. Then a lap later, it's Chihiro's time to get it all wrong on top of the mountain, handing me back yet another position. I've climbed back to second position then. I have totally recovered from the crash, but now I'm right back in that awkward position of not needing to defend from behind while having no realistic chance of catching the driver ahead. And you have seen what happens when I get into that situation. Same exact spot. At least this time I don't get stuck. I do lose a position though, and when I do I'm instantly confused. Was I in first? I guess I was, because the leader Yoshi is nowhere to be seen anymore. Jez has that number 1 above his car now. But there are still 2 laps to do something about it and get a win I really don't deserve. Jazzy's decent through this section of track though. We both go a little wide here, but he has good traction going up the hill. He starts to pull away, but his lines across the top of the mountain aren't ideal and I start to close in rapidly. Across the top of the mountain though, there is just nowhere to safely pass. I sit in and wait. He has to crack under pressure at some point. He does a dipper really nicely, and in fact it's me who almost cracks, getting a little out of shape on exit. But then as we brake to turn onto the back straight, there it is. Exactly the mistake I was waiting for. He doesn't quite slide off the track, but it gives me a nice run. From here it's an easy pass. I don't even have to battle him under braking. And from here it's job done. Concentrate, don't throw it away, and bring it home. So there you have it. 6 races, 5 from the back of the grid, on a driver rating E, safety rating B, fresher count, and over 2 separate days. All races back to back with nothing cherry picked. As you can see from the profile here, all of these races are the only ones I had and you saw all of them. I'm not sure how I could make it more fair and unbiased than that. The point of this whole exercise was to see how bad sport mode really is for the average player, especially new players. From reading, it's easy to be scared off. It sounds terrible. If the other players don't get you, the penalties will. But what you just watched doesn't really justify that stance. While there were a couple of instances of car-to-car contact, I was never completely pushed off the track, and the driver who was to blame was always punished with a penalty. And speaking of penalties, in those 6 races there wasn't a single unfair penalty received. This of course doesn't mean that other players' experiences aren't valid, but I don't think they are average experiences. I think a lot of the reason why I didn't receive much aggro in any of the races is because I tried my best not to cause any. If we bring up the example of Daily Race B, I spent a lot of time bottled up behind much slower cars. I see so many drivers in this situation feel it's their right to pass if they are faster, and instead of waiting for a good opportunity, they stick their noses in on the inside and just push their way past. I know if I am turning into a corner and I feel a tap on the inside that pushes me wide, allowing the car behind to pass, I don't take it lightly. I feel like I want some kind of vengeance, and I think this is where a lot of the dirty driving in these races comes from. In each race I tried to pass only when I could without any contact, just as you would in real life, and I think the results speak for themselves. If you haven't tried Sport Mode yet, or are just of the impression that it's a Wreckfest rival, you might want to give it a chance. Real racing against real drivers is the most fun you can have in any game. Don't let any vocal minority scare you away from what can be the best experience in a racing game.